Egypt Covington was just 27 years old when she was found slain in her home. Egypt lived in a duplex in Belleville, Michigan, about 30 minutes outside of Detroit. Egypt worked as a waitress and singer in Ann Arbor. She was a young and ambitious girl who had her whole life ahead of her. Egypt's last known communication was June 22nd, 2017. She exchanged text with her best friend Lindsay and her on and off again boyfriend, Curtis. The next day, friends and family were unable to get in contact with Egypt. Curtis, concerned that he was unable to contact her, decided to drive to her home. Curtis found Egypt in her home June 23rd, 2017. She had been bound with her hands behind her back and had a gunshot wound to the back of her head. No sign of forced entry or robbery led the authorities to believe Egypt possibly knew her attacker and let them in. Her friends, father, and sister also believe the killer knew Egypt, as the murder took place when her neighbor had been out of town, indicating the killer was someone close to her who knew the neighbors would be gone and would not hear the commotion. Local authorities immediately turned their attention to Egypt's boyfriend, Curtis. After interrogation and a lie detector test, police believe Curtis had nothing to do with Egypt's murder. The family of Egypt also believed he was not the person who took the life of their family member. Police then announced a person of interest, an ex-boyfriend by the name Kenny Michalak, a toxic relationship who was borderline obsessed with Egypt. Egypt ended the relationship but still stayed friends with Kenneth. Kenneth seemed to be upset to find out that Egypt and Curtis had taken up a relationship. Kenneth confronted Egypt at a local festival. Egypt seemed unfazed by the confrontation with Kenneth and continued to pursue her relationship with Curtis. A week later, Egypt was dead. Egypt's friends, father, sister, and stepmother did not outright accuse Kenneth of being Egypt's killer, but did say they could not think of anyone else who could have possibly done this. The only family member who did not suspect Kenneth was Egypt's mother, Tina Covington. She acknowledged the relationship was strained, but does not think he is responsible for her daughter's death. Tina believes resources should be used to investigate other leads and other possible suspects. She said, quote, "I believe Egypt was in the wrong place at the wrong time." For 5 long years, Egypt's family and friends would go without answers. They continued to pressure local authorities to find Egypt's killer. Finally, in November of 2020, an arrest was announced. Timothy Moore of Toledo, Ohio, was arrested and charged with 1 count of homicide. Another man, Shane Evans of Sumter Township, Michigan, was arrested but released, only to be arrested again in December of 2020 and charged with murder and home invasion. Also in December of 2020, Timothy Moore's cousin, Shannon Groom of Toledo, Ohio, was arrested and charged with murder and home invasion. Just as Egypt's mother had suspected, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Egypt's neighbor in the duplex ran a marijuana business. The arrested suspects knew he would be out of town at the festival and believed this was their opportunity to rob him. They intended to break into Egypt's neighbor's home, but mistakenly went to the wrong door. When they entered Egypt's apartment, they found her alone, watching a movie. In a panic, they tied her hands behind her back and then executed her. Her life was lost due to a robbery gone wrong. Shane Evans pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 15 to 25 years. The 2 remaining suspects' cases is still ongoing. The senseless killing of an innocent woman, all due to a mistake, is tragic. Why these men felt the need to harm Egypt instead of leaving once they realized their mistake is absolutely unfathomable to me. I do hope the friends and family of Egypt get the justice they deserve.